Ladies and gentlemen, the Minnesota Senate Energy, Utilities, Environment, and Climate Committee will please come to order. It is Monday, March 9th, 2026. It's 12:30 p.m., give or take, and we're in the Senate building, room 1150, and a quorum is present. First bill up, Senate File 3800, Senator John Hoffman. Senator Hoffman, welcome to your committee. Please present your bill.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and members. 13 years ago, I was on a conference committee with Senator Marty, and the other body, their conference committee chair, was my neighbor, Melissa Hortman. And this Senate file would rename the Minnesota Community Solar Garden Program as the Melissa Hortman Community Solar Program Garden Program. And it really is to honor her life and legacy because she was instrumental in getting that program started. And that's really what launched the solar industry here in Minnesota. In 2013, Melissa was chair of the House Energy Committee and authored the legislation that started this program. When she authored this was a new idea with a few examples to look to and many unknowns. As we know, that wouldn't stop her. She dug in. In the conference committee, she was so eloquent about the position that the other body had that she looked at me and said, well, that's you and Marty's issue, right? Meaning so there was a conversation about, there were 7 members in the Senate that were locked in at a certain percentage. And she really dug in and did all the necessary work to make it happen, where those 7 senators actually came our way. And that really helped create the legislation. And I won't tell you the words that she said to me as I said, well, there are 7 that, that's how passionate she was, right? And here's what happened. We passed that. But in the conference committee, here's how she worked. That was about creating coalitions. And there are people in this sitting behind me that were standing outside the old Minnesota State building while we were in this conference committee having the discussion about solar standards. We were one of the first states in the country to successfully implement that community solar program, which has now become the largest in the country, and it delivers more than 1 gigawatt of community solar capacity serving Minnesota. This is just one small part of the incredible legacy my kid's sister did on the state of Minnesota. And we all know the best way to honor her memory is to keep doing the work and keep going about on these issues that were important to her. And I think we should also recognize that her impact with this recognition on the community solar program. So with that, I thank you in advance, Mr. Chair and members. And I didn't realize there was going to be so many people that wanted to testify, and they better all be on behalf of this. I'm kidding. Pete Wyckoff, Department of Commerce, Rob Davis, Clean Counts, George Damian, Logan O'Grady, Timothy Denhendler, Eric Posse, and then Reed Richardson are here, Mr. Chair. So with that, I'll vacate my seat here and let those people come up 3 at a time for you.
Thank you, Senator Hoffman. The chair will be a yes vote on your bill. Also, if you want to stay up there as we have the witnesses go through, it was my hope that you would make the motion to pass the bill if you want, but not that
I will. No. I was just going to give you room here to.
That's fine. Not that you have to sit there. Up to you if you want to wait until after
and for the record, Jim Pearson from Xcel Energy said he absolutely supports this bill 100%. So they're not going to get any problem with Xcel Energy on this too. So.
Okay. Good. Thank you, Senator Hoffman. Folks, we have a list of testifiers. Hopefully they can keep it to a couple minutes each. I show Dr. Pete Wyckoff and Rob Davis, if they could come forward, please. After that, George Damian and Logan O'Grady on deck. Dr. Wyckoff, Mr. Davis, thank you for your time. Why don't we start with Dr. Wyckoff? Please introduce yourself and present the testimony.
Thank you, Chair Frentz. My name is Pete Wyckoff. I am Deputy Commissioner of Commerce for Energy, and I'm here today in support of Senate File 3800, which will rename Minnesota's groundbreaking community solar garden program as the Melissa Hortman Community Solar Garden Program. I find it particularly appropriate in moving the bill as led by Senator Hoffman. Speaker Hortman was a tireless champion of solar energy in general and community solar gardens in particular. As chair of the committee, as we just heard in 2013, then Representative Hortman recognized the need to encourage a young budding solar industry in Minnesota. Community solar gardens, or CSGs to the hip kids, represented a way to allow Minnesotans to obtain solar energy to meet their electric needs, regardless of whether they owned a home that was appropriate for rooftop solar or not. Minnesota's community solar garden is truly a national model and has been replicated elsewhere. A recent article documented how CSGs are continuing to spread, often now by Republican legislators in states like Georgia, Iowa, Missouri, and Ohio. Minnesota's CSG program was the initial driver of solar build-out at scale in Minnesota. For a long time, CSGs were responsible for the large majority of Minnesota's solar deployment. Utility-scale solar is finally catching up, but CSGs still represent over 40% of Minnesota's solar capacity. 3 years ago, as part of the flurry of legislation designed to accelerate the transition of Minnesota's electric system to one that is more reliable, more resilient, more affordable, and more clean, the original community solar garden program was revised and recast. Speaker Hortman was again a driving force behind that legislation. Since 2023, the Energy Division at Minnesota Commerce has run the low and moderate income community solar garden program. We have pushed the total cumulative approved solar gardens in Minnesota to over 1 gigawatt. The Commerce-run CSU program has approved 134 total new projects. The revised law required that at least 30% of the solar capacity go to low and moderate income household subscribers, resulting in at least 10% average bill savings. To date, the actual number for approved gardens has been 70% for low and moderate income subscribers and 12.3% average bill savings. So the program is exceeding statutory goals. Community solar gardens set the stage for the development of solar power in Minnesota and were a vital step towards ensuring that everyone, regardless of their income or where they live, has a chance to benefit from the clean energy boom. When our solar build-out is complete, CSGs will only be a small part of Minnesota's electric system, but they have been essential to catalyzing development in Minnesota, and we can thank Melissa Hortman for that. On a personal note, my last meeting with Senator Hortman, only a few days prior to her death, was on the topic of community solar gardens and the future of the program. As Chair French can attest, it was a long meeting. And I'll never forget the thoughtfulness and focused engagement. This was during stoppage time in the last legislative session that she showed during a time when she had a million other things on her plate. She was an amazing leader, and I encourage you to support this bill.
Thank you, Dr. Wyckoff, for your testimony. As someone who was at that meeting, you might remember I was so impressed with her willingness to listen that was really what was on my mind as I walked out of there. We met for an hour and a half, and by the end of it, she had persuaded me she did want to know, and I still remember the 3 questions she asked. Are we still building enough solar in this country? Does the PUC have the authority to regulate community solar? And what is the cost that's being borne by the unsubscribed rate holders? And she was magnificent. And Melissa, if you're listening, we miss you. With that, we'll proceed with further testimony. Thank you, Dr. Wyckoff. Mr. Davis.
Chair, friends, members of the committee, Melissa Hortman should be with us today. My name is Rob Davis. I serve as Chief Growth Officer for Clean Counts, North America's largest clean energy registry, and proud to be headquartered here in Minnesota. Over the last 10 years, I've testified to this committee representing Connexus Energy and prior to that, Fresh Energy. I speak today in support of SF 3800, renaming Minnesota's community solar program in Melissa's honor. In 2015, a colleague and I were privately encouraged by Melissa, then serving as minority leader, to build a coalition of supporters for what would become the nation's first ground cover standard for solar farms. The national standard practice at the time was for solar development to use bare ground, turf grass, or gravel. Our first calls were to Minnesota's top honeybee and monarch experts, then to Audubon, then to Pheasants Forever, then to Prairie Restorations and other landscape companies, then to corn growers and Minnesota Farmers Union, and finally to folks in the solar industry. Agriculture Policy Committee's House and Senate chairs Rod Hamilton and Dan Sparks signed on as chief authors, and we quickly had bipartisan co-authors in both chambers. Since it was related to solar, the bill's first stop was Chair Garofalo's House Energy Committee in March of 2016. The Pollinator Friendly Solar Act, a voluntary program establishing a flexible, science-based standard for which solar arrays could be described as, quote, providing habitat beneficial to songbirds, game birds, or pollinators, unquote, was held over for inclusion in the House and Senate Agriculture omnibus bills, then pulled out for standalone votes, unanimous in the House and 62-2 in the Senate. To Melissa, I was now the bee guy. 10 years later, Minnesota's Board of Water and Soil Resources has more than 7,000 acres of solar arrays, both community and utility scale, in its habitat-friendly solar program. More than 2 billion with a B native and pollinator-friendly plants are growing on these sites, all established with private capital. Surveys and research over the last few years have shown that, yes, people that already are inclined to love solar love it a little bit more. But even more importantly, and I think Melissa had a hunch to this effect, is the fact that when planted with pollinator habitat and or grazed by sheep, research shows that less than half as many people have a negative view of a given solar project. Today, thousands of sheep and their shepherds, in addition to song and game birds, native bees and honeybees and their beekeepers, are making productive use of the land under and around these solar projects. Senator John Hoffman may have even donned a beekeeper suit during one such community event and has been spotted on more than one occasion with honey sticks from these projects, as will be distributed, I believe, to you
Got 'em?
momentarily.
You already got them?
Did Melissa know that food, like faith, and the simple act, the simple beauty of flowers can bring us together? I urge your support for renaming Minnesota's community solar program in Melissa's honor. It is fitting that around these steel, glass, and silicon monuments to her memory are thousands of acres of low-growing native grasses and, with each sunny season, a new bouquet of flowers. Equally fitting is the fact that she had a hand in the public policy informing this now common and popular practice.
Yeah, she was.
Thank you.
Robbie, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Davis. Next, we'll have George Damian, and after that, Logan O'Grady. Mr. Damian, welcome back to the committee. Always nice to see you. Hoping for a couple minutes of testimony. If you could introduce yourself and present your testimony, please.
Thank you, Chair France and members of the committee. My name is George Damian, Director of Government Affairs for Clean Energy Economy Minnesota, also known as SEAM. We are an industry-led, nonpartisan nonprofit representing more than 70 clean energy businesses and employ tens of thousands of Minnesotans across the state. Speaker Melissa Hortman was a larger-than-life presence in the Minnesota legislature. She was not only a champion for renewable energy, she was a steward of the institution itself. She understood the weight of decisions made in this place and approached energy policy with seriousness, discipline, and a long-term perspective. She believed Minnesotans could lead on renewable energy while strengthening our economy and creating durable policy that businesses and communities could rely. What set her apart was her credibility across party lines. Even in moments of disagreement, she earned respect for her preparation, her integrity, and her commitment to getting policy right. She was focused not on headlines, but on building frameworks that could stand the test of time. Today, Minnesota's clean energy economy supports tens of thousands of jobs and attracts national investment. That trajectory did not happen by accident. It reflects leaders like Speaker Hortman, who are willing to think big and build lasting foundations. Honoring Speaker Hortman this way is a fitting tribute to a leader who shaped Minnesota's energy future and strengthened the legislature which he served. Thank you, Senator Hoffman, for authoring this bill, and SEAM respectfully request your support.
Thank you, Mr. Damian. Well said and expeditiously done, too. Mr. O'Grady, please introduce yourself and present your testimony.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. For the record, my name is Logan O'Grady. I'm the Executive Director of the Minnesota Solar Energy Industries Association, or MNSEA. I have the privilege of representing the entirety of the solar industry here in Minnesota and the 5,000 Minnesotans that work within that industry. Before I get to my remarks on the bill, I just want to tell a personal story. Some of you know this about me, but I got my start in policy work here in Minnesota working for the Senate. And when I came in, I felt very unprepared for the job that I was hired to do. But one of the first lawmakers that I met was Senator John Hoffman, who made me feel welcome and made me feel like I could do what I was supposed to do. And I just feel very grateful to be sitting next to you today. So thank you.
Wow, thank you.
And thank you, Senator Frentz, for hearing this bill today. I know that there have been a lot of disagreements around this topic, and I'm happy to continue to have those conversations with everyone about it. But setting that aside today, I think there's one thing that we can all agree on, and that was that Melissa Hortman was the champion for our industry here in Minnesota. She passed the 2013 Solar Energy Jobs Act that really was a catalyst to building an industry here. And she understood the power of statute, that provides the certainty and stability that you can build an industry around. And it often requires you to require things of utilities that can oftentimes be adverse to risk. But putting it in statute, and you'll hear from some people today, makes a difference to investors and entrepreneurs to start their businesses and grow that sector of the economy. I often talk about how our industry is so young that we're often flying the plane as we're building it. Melissa was our first captain. She got us off the ground, and we're heartbroken not to be flying with her anymore. But we know that the flight path that she created went far beyond the borders of Minnesota. Now dozens of states are passing community solar legislation, and they're doing so in a bipartisan way, just as Melissa would have wanted it. I heard a lot about coalition building and listening, and that is my lesson from her life, and my commitment to everyone in this room is that MNCEA and our industry will continue to do so, and we'll work hard to find common ground. With that, thank you, Senator Friends.
Thank you, Mr. O'Grady. Next, we have Mr. Den Herder and then Eric Posse. Please. Mr. Den Herder, welcome back to the committee. Please introduce yourself and present your testimony.
Thank you. My name is Timothy Den Herder Thomas. I'm General Manager at Cooperative Energy Futures. I'm speaking in support of Senate File 3800. Cooperative Energy Futures is a 1,500 member-owned cooperative. We have members from North Minneapolis, Faribault, St. Cloud, really all across central and southern Minnesota. We believe, as we know that former Speaker Melissa Hortman did, that we need an energy future that works for everyone in Minnesota, that produces benefits, that creates opportunity for all of our residents here in the state. Not just for Wall Street, not just for big developers, but really is creating equitable opportunity. We've been a part of that work, and the community solar program has been vital in the growth of our co-op and in making sure that the benefits of solar reach low-income households, renters, folks who can't otherwise participate. And the growth of this industry and the work of this program has really made it possible for us to reach beyond community solar into all sorts of other energy solutions. Melissa Hortman was a champion of that. She was a champion in the foundation of the program back in 2013, and she was a champion in the revamp of the program in 2023 that refocused its work on low and moderate income households and greater community benefit. This program has really been a key aspect of her legacy. While I'd really rather be celebrating the successes and progress that has been built through this program with her here with us, I can think of no better way of honoring her legacy than to name this program after her. Thank you.
Thank you for your testimony. Sir, welcome back to the committee. Nice to see you. Please introduce yourself and present your testimony.
Yes, Chair Frentz and members. My name is Eric Posse. I'm the CEO of Enterprise Energy, a Minnesota-based community solar developer, and I'm here in strong support of naming this program in honor of Melissa Hortman. In 2013, Minnesota made history with the Solar Jobs Act, creating the first significant community solar program in the country. That didn't happen by accident. It happened because of leadership, and Melissa was central to that effort. Because of this program, companies like Enterprise Energy were able to form, grow, and serve communities across our state. Thousands of Minnesotans, renters, small businesses, schools, and especially low and moderate income families have been able to participate in clean energy for the very first time. This program didn't just build solar farms, it built Minnesota businesses, it built careers, and it built opportunity. And when this program needed to evolve, she stepped up again in 2023, helping to refocus it to better serve families who might otherwise be left behind, while also leading Minnesota toward 100% clean energy by 2040. But what I'll remember most is personal. When I was new to this process, no title, no influence in 2013. She took a meeting and she listened to me. And she treated me as if I mattered. And that combination of courage and kindness is rare. Renaming this program isn't symbolic. It's fitting because every time Enterprise Energy brings a new project online, every time a Minnesota family saves money through community solar, her impact is still working. The Minnesota Community Solar Program changed my life and built Enterprise Energy. Naming it after Melissa Hortman simply tells the truth about who made that possible. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Posse. Well done. Next up, we have Reed Richardson, and then that is the end of the listed testifiers. Is it
Mr.
pronounced Richardson?
Richardson.
No D?
Yes. No D. We
Okay.
lost that generations ago somehow.
It's important to get that right. Welcome to the committee. Please introduce yourself and present your testimony.
Thank you. Mr. Chair and members of the committee, my name is Reed Richardson, and I'm the president of U.S. Solar, a Minnesota-based developer and owner-operator of solar and battery storage projects. We have been active in Minnesota's community solar program since our founding in 2014. As others have stated, and I will repeat, Melissa Hortman was this industry's champion. She was the catalyst for creating the nation's leading community solar program, bringing solar access to tens of thousands of residents and hundreds of local businesses, organizations, cities, and schools. She was once again the change maker of this program's evolution into one more focused on providing direct benefits and much needed energy bill savings to thousands of lower income Minnesotans. As importantly, Melissa gave confidence to this fledgling industry that there would be sustainability in this policy, and that policy would endure through threats. And if you ask anyone in the private sector, it's confidence in the sustainability of policies that allows for businesses to innovate and invest, jobs to be created, and for Minnesotans to prosper. This program, which meant so much to Melissa, truly sparked this solar sector here in the state. Her steadfast leadership enabled companies like ours to participate, learn, and grow, and even export outside of our state lines. We've provided hundreds of jobs for our local community of construction contractors and engineers, and U.S. Solar, based in Minnesota, employs over 50 professionals. We've provided sustainable income to numerous farming families across more than a dozen counties in Minnesota. In closing, Melissa Hortman was a champion for our industry and the future of Minnesota. She was the catalyst. She was the critic for change and improvements, and when needed, she was our biggest defender. I commend each and every one of you on this committee for hearing this bill and urge you to support its passage. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Richardson. Anybody who's here who's not on the testifier list? Mr. Pearson, they already vouched for your testimony, so you can stay there. Sir, I see you standing up. Did you want to address the committee? All right, please come forward.
Mr. Fleming.
How you doing, my friend?
Good to see you, man. Good to see you. Welcome back.
Hi.
Sir, we want to create an opportunity for the public to address the committee, so if you could start, please, by introducing yourself and keep your testimony to a couple minutes, that'd be great. Please proceed.
Morgan Fleming, I'm here on behalf of Geronimo, now called Power Energy. Specifically about Melissa Hortman. We began in 2004 and have grown very large across the country. Noel Ron, our founder, passed away. You have a letter from Nathan Franson in behalf of this legislation. But I remember, I think in 14, that Noel had talked Betsy Engelking from leaving Excel and coming to help us. And she went to see Melissa. By the second meeting, Melissa understood this concept so much, I quit going to meetings. She absolutely helped create all this. We were the first in the country. We worked pretty hard. Mother Mayo, their Mankato campus and Red Wing campus took part of this. But I'm sorry Nathan can't be here. I'm not a good substitute. But I just remember how quick and fast the speaker, Melissa, was in figuring this out. So thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Fleming. Appreciate your testimony. Other members? Otherwise, we'll go to member questions and comments, and then we'll have Senator Hoffman's motion. Members, any questions, comments for any of the testifiers? Seeing none. Senator Hoffman, I did think it was the right move for you to bring the motion to pass, recommend it to pass and send it directly to the floor. Senator Hoffman.
Mr. Chair and members, thank you. You know, I wish John Marty was here to tell some stories about how that conference committee really was. And to hear people talk about Melissa like that is absolutely joyful. And it's sad because I really do miss her. But with that, I move that Senate File 3800 be passed and put on general orders.
Thank you, Senator Hoffman. The committee agrees with you. And on the motion, members, questions or comments for Senator Hoffman? Further comments as we put it to a vote? All those in favor of passing Senate File 3800 and recommending that it be sent to the floor, say aye. 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 All opposed, say nay. The motion prevails, and you're on your way to the floor, Senator Hoffman.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, members. Thank you.
Thank you, testifiers. We'll now go to Senator Weber's Senate File 3477. Senator Weber, thank you for appearing before the committee to present Senate File 3477. I have Mr. Fisher and Mr. Kelly listed as testifiers. Senator Weber, to your bill.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. First, I would like to offer the A1 amendment, which I believe you have.
We do. Senator Weber offers the A1 amendment. Do you want to describe the amendment or just have it put on?
It's
Senator
an
Weber?
author's amendment that simply changes a few words, adds a couple words just to put it in order that we wish.
Thank you, Senator Weber. Any member comments or questions for the senator? All in favor of adopting the A1 amendment, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say nay. The A1 amendment is adopted. Senator Weber, to your bill as amended.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This bill has been brought to us as a proactive means to deal with some of the issues that arise in our Petro Fund. We all are aware of the Petro Fund and its usage to clean up spills and/or underground tank leaks across the state of Minnesota. One of the items that exists out there, and according to Fueling Minnesota, there are approximately 500 owners of underground fuel tank storage systems that use single-walled piping. And in wetter soils, this can create some issues with the deterioration of the pipe and lead to underground leaks. The purpose of this would make an addition to the availability of the Petro funds that would do the following. First, any current Minnesota underground storage system owner would be eligible for 50% of the total project cost for replacement of the single-walled steel piping. The maximum reimbursement for any one site is $100,000, and any owner is only allowed to do 2 sites per year. Eligible equipment would include the piping from the tank to the dispenser, as well as those soil concrete costs that are associated with the replacement of said items. And finally, the maximum annual expenditure from the Petro Fund would be limited to $4 million per year. These are the basics of the bill, Mr. Chairman, and I would turn it over to members for questions and also to members of Fueling Minnesota that are at the table here with me for their testimony.
Thank you, Senator Weber. Well done. Senator Weber, I can have Mr. Mueller walk through the fiscal side of it if you'd like before we have the testifiers, or we can wait. Up to you.
That's fine. You can go ahead and do that.
Okay. Thank you, Senator Weber. Mr. Mueller, just the basics, where it comes from, the cost, all that. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman and members, there is not a completed fiscal note yet on the bill, but I do have some preliminary numbers. This addition with this bill would cost about $4.2 million to the Petro Fund per year, starting in 2027 for 10 years. The $4 million capped for the project reimbursement that Senator Weber mentioned. And then there'd be roughly estimated of $200,000 per year of additional administrative costs between the Petro Fund Board and the Department of Commerce. And the way that the Petro Fund works is that this would draw down the Petro Fund a little faster than what is currently happening. The Petro Fund is currently funded with a sort of a blink on, blink off fee it's about 2 cents per gallon paid at the wholesale level. The fee blinks on for 4 months and then it goes off. And then once the balance of the petro fund gets below, I believe it's $2 million, they notify the board again about increasing the fee again. I don't have the total cash flow of how the fund is working right now, but this would increase, the uses of the fund and presumably have the fee blink on quicker or more often than would otherwise happen. So that's the basics of the fiscal part. Like I said, there's a preliminary fiscal note that I'll make available to everyone once it's done and based off the amended version of the bill.
Thank you, Mr. Reilly. Thanks, Senator Weber. Let's go to our testifiers. You prefer Mr. Fisher or Mr. Kelly first? I have Mr. Fisher listed first there. Mr. Fisher, welcome back to the committee. Please introduce yourself and present your testimony.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Committee members, my name is Dallas Fisher of Fueling, Minnesota. We're a 100-year-old trade association that represents the 400 fuel marketers who own and operate a majority of Minnesota's 2,500 retail fueling sites. Our members are primarily multi-generational family businesses or farmer-owned cooperatives throughout the state. I'm here in support of this new preventative reimbursement option within the Minnesota Petroleum Tank Release Fund, commonly known as the Petro Fund. The Minnesota Petro Fund is widely regarded as the gold standard in our country. It primarily helps to reimbursement cleanup costs after a petroleum spill or leak has already occurred. Because of the Petro Fund's financial support, releases are reported promptly and cleanups are completed quickly, and Minnesota's groundwaters are protected, all while keeping costs financially prudent. But we believe Minnesota can do even better by preventing releases before they happen. One of the highest risk pieces of an underground tank fueling system still in use in parts of Minnesota is single-walled pressurized steel piping. This unique issue in Minnesota, based on our most recent data, approximately 38% of retail fueling sites, roughly 500 locations statewide, still operate with this type of piping. While this equipment was considered state-of-the-art when installed, it is corrosion-prone and may be vulnerable to failure due to environmental ground conditions. When failures occur, cleanup costs can easily reach hundreds of thousands or even millions of dollars. Those costs ultimately fall on the Petro Fund, the fuel marketer, and Minnesota's fuel economy and consumers. Our proposal is simple and financially responsible. Allow a limited, targeted Petro Fund reimbursement of $4 million per year for 10 years for proactively replacing high-risk piping systems before release occurs. This is not seen so much as a handout for us, but a financial investment of the state. Every release we prevent protects Minnesota's groundwater and soil, avoids business shutdowns, reduces emergency response costs, and saves the Petro Fund significant long-term dollars, creating real savings for Minnesota's fuel consumers. This policy aligns with incentives in the right way. It encourages responsible upgrades, reduces environmental risks, and protects the long-term health of the Petro Fund by, in this case, preventing releases instead of reacting to them. I'm happy to answer any questions the committee may have.
No, thank you, Mr. Fisher, and thank you for making the point here, which is we will save the state more money by preventing the leaks than waiting till the leaks occur and then trying to repair it. With that, Mr. Kelly, welcome to the committee. Nice to see you again, sir. Please introduce yourself and present your testimony.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, members. My name is Vern Kelly. I've been in the petroleum industry for many, many years. In fact, I started sweeping the drive at my dad's gas station in Richfield actually 70 years ago. So I've pretty much seen it all. And more importantly, a year ago, January, I came off being the chairman of the Petro Fund board for 12 years. And during those 12 years that I served on the board, I saw many times that prevention was the cheapest cleanup. And you can certainly say that more money will be saved by getting this steel pipe out of the ground than will be if we leave it in there and try to clean up afterwards. There's precedent for what this bill provides. Years ago, we had PCV pipe in heating oil systems. If you're familiar with a heating oil tank, it's usually in the basement, and it's filled from the outside, and then there's a vent pipe coming back out. And a lot of homeowners or installers put in PCV pipe, and we had a rash of leaks because this PCV pipe would break. And we had a lot of cleanups being done by the Petro Fund because of that. And so a bill was passed that allowed the homeowners money to replace this PCV pipe. And it helped completely so that there was no more of these claims made to the Petro Fund because we prevented them before they happened. A couple years ago, I was up in Alexandria, Minnesota, and I was able to observe a inspection by the MPCA for a site up there. We have a member up there that had a leak in his #1 diesel tank, and he invited Fueling Minnesota members to come up and be there when his place was inspected by the MPCA. And the MPCA showed up, and the inspector took all the panels off the pumps, got his wire brush out, and started looking at all the steel piping underneath these dispensers. And he went to the #2 diesel, took his wire brush and started scraping, and sure enough, it was nice and tight. So he moved to the 87 octane, got his steel brush out and started scraping, and this was pressurized steel pipe, and all of a sudden it started to leak. And then he moved on to the mid-grade and started with his steel brush, and all of a sudden it started to leak. And the owner of the station was basically laying on the hood of his pickup, and we were bagging the pumps as fast as we could. And what I'm trying to tell you is this is an epidemic that is out there that we're going to have to do something about. And again, prevention is the best part of it. The Petro Fund has to show its financial responsibility to the federal or EPA every year through Region 5 in Chicago. We have to send in a report that says that our fund is responsible for any leak that might happen on any tank in Minnesota. And so we're very protective of the fund. And we wouldn't want there to be anything that would take away from that financial responsibility, because basically the Petro Fund is like a big insurance company. And it's insuring every tank owner in Minnesota to make sure that there's no claims against any pollution in our land and our streams and our lakes. And we don't want any owner of a tank or that might have a spill or a leak to try to hide that leak, because of the fact that he knows that he's going to get help with that cleanup. And so again, steel piping is an epidemic that we need to do something about, and we need to do it sooner than later. And again, it's like a time bomb going off, and we don't know when it's going to happen at any particular location. And so my testimony this morning is to support the steel piping bill and use the Petro Fund money to help move a owner's business plan to get this pipe out of the ground. And the sooner we can do it, the better. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Kelly. Very well done. Other members of the public who want to testify to the file before we go to member questions or comments? Seeing none. Members, attention of the chair is to support the bill but lay it over for possible inclusion. Do we have member comments, questions for Senator Weber? Senator Hoffman.
I was going to give him a hard time about, not having a fiscal note that, the ... but realize that it's the fund and, the years on that. But I love this. This is great. Thank you for your historic work on this. And, it's one thing that is going to be very much missed next year. So thank you, Senator, for all your work. And thank you. I'm going to support this bill. And I can't give him a hard time because that would not be okay.
I appreciate that, Senator Hoffman. I'll refrain from saying how much we're going to miss you, Senator Weber, but it's true. So let's try to stay to the bill before us for the moment, everybody. Further member comments before we give the author the last word? Mr. Fisher, Mr. Kelly, thanks for your testimony. Senator Weber, the last word before we lay it over.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I appreciate your consideration of this bill, and I think that as we look at this in the future, As Mr. Kelly mentioned, the preventative maintenance is much cheaper than what we would experience. A $100,000 limitation on a site, if there was a leak at that site, knowing how things work, the cleanup costs would amount to much more than that. So with that, Mr. Chairman, I appreciate a yes vote on this, or with the layover.
Thank you, Senator Weber. I think you have a lot of yes votes up here. We can talk about this offline. With that, Senate File 3477 is laid over. Members, there being no further business in front of the committee, there's an agenda posted for Wednesday, but there's an anticipation that floor may take long enough that we don't get to hold committee, so please have your staffs keep an eye on that. And with that, we are adjourned.